So you ready to jump in to Tips and Tricks Tuesdays? So Tips and Tricks Tuesdays. Hey, Tips and Tricks Tuesdays. Tips and Tricks. Well, go on. Welcome back to my balcony garden. Today I have my mint plants. So I went to Kama and I found, actually no, that's a lie. that's a whole lie. I went to Mozo, Wonder City. The Eon store there has a flower shop on the ground floor in the supermarket. I went there and I found these amazing herbs, so 4 mint plants. Today I'm going to walk you through how I transplant my mints, and I will give you a few general care tips of how to take care of mint. So today we have 2 black pepper mints. We have a penny royal mint. But a word of warning for penny royal: if you are pregnant or think you may be pregnant, please do not handle penny royal in any capacity. Do not touch it, do not drink it, don't go near it, avoid it. In the past, penny royal was used to brings on your menstrual courses. It's 2020, we can say that word, right? Yes, it brings on your period, your menses, your menstrual courses. And last but certainly not least, I have lavender mint. Oh, it smells so good. They all smell so amazing. Let's jump into the video and let me show you how I work my magic on these babies. Plus the care tips. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Yeah, ready? Alright, I'm gonna jump in now. See you in 2 seconds. 1 second. Alright. Okay, let's jump right into our transplanting. The first thing you will need to know is about the pots. So these are, oh my god, I almost gave myself a hernia. Oh Jesus, ooh, don't do that. So this is my terracotta pot. I have 4 identical ones for each mint. Now for mint, it's good to plant them in a fairly shallow, wide pot. I think this may be a bit too shallow. It needed to be have a little more depth to it. So it's good to have a diameter of 8 to 12 inches. Mine is 11 inches diameter. I got them from Kama Home and Garden Center. It's good for aeration for the roots. It helps it to drain well. It wicks the water away. Speaking of wicking, you could also use a fabric pot like this one. So I've used, this is a 5-gallon pot. I've used fabric pots a lot. If you've watched my balcony tour, go check it out. Most of my pots are actually fabric pots because they're lighter and easier to move around. Like them stuck me up. However, I chose terracotta pot because I'm thinking of keeping these mints mostly in partial shade inside. So I'm gonna grow them inside near my balcony door, and I won't be moving them around a lot. So that's why I chose terracotta pots. Please ensure that it has good drainage. So it has the main has the main hole there, and this actually has 4 tiny holes surrounding it. Okay, so good drainage, good drainage. So for soil, alright, so it's good to have well draining garden soil is okay. So it's that from DCM, and just pour a little bit. So this soil already, if you can see, it has some peat moss in it already, and it has the perlite in it already. However, I'm going to add some more to it. So the peat moss and the perlite together, they assist in keeping the soil moist but well drained as well. And you know, mint, they love moisture. But it needs to be well draining. So they don't like the soil saturated but well draining. I will add a little extra peat moss. So just a little bit of peat moss. I'm doing enough for that one pot. And of course, perlite. So some more perlite. Oops, that may be too much perlite. That's okay. And I'm going to add a little bit of compost. The compost neutralizes back the acidity of the peat moss, and it has a lot of natural organisms in it that are extremely beneficial to the plants. And right now, just mix it around, get it really incorporated together. Yeah, so this I got from Karma as well. Most of my gardening supplies now I get from Karma because it's close by. However, when I lived at my other apartment, I used to go to Daiso. So that's the Hyakuen shop, or if you're, I guess in America, that would be the dollar store, like Japanese version of a dollar store. So this is nice and good. And our first one will be the peppermint. So because this hole is so big, I have to stop it up, cover it so that the soil won't fall through. Because look, see, I put this in and it has a huge hole in it because there's nothing there to stop the soil from draining through. So what I will use is actually this. It's cocoa fiber, and it will be perfect for this. It won't you know, damage the nutrients. It will allow the soil to pass through, the water to drain properly. If you don't have this, that's fine. You can use like a piece of clay, like a large stone. You can even use paper towel. So paper towel will cover it up, and the paper towel will over time decompose. I'm not in the mood to cut a perfect circle, so I'm just gonna cut the square. There, voila, it's good. Fill the pot about 1/3 of the way with soil. Gently pat it down so that there are no air pockets in it. And we can do the test to see how high it will be. Okay, maybe a little bit more. Okay, so what you need to do to get this out is gently put your fingers at the base of your mint, turn it over, and just gently squeeze and squeeze it out. So you can see this was getting a little bit root bound, so that's when the roots, they have no space to go, so they wrap around each other, and this can actually hinder the growth and affects how the plant gets its nourishment. So what you do is just gently break it up, separate it a little bit, and then place it here. So what we'll now do is we will fill the soil right up to the level of where the soil originally is. We don't want to go any further, just up to where the original level of the soil is. So you can adjust the soil level as much as you like. I tend to like to do it so I have at least maybe 1 inch or so, or 2 centimeters or so of space between the soil and the top of the pot. Also, just a pro tip, you know, a smart tip. Try not to let there be like a dome. So like a dome like this, where the center is here and then the water is off. Try to get everything as level as you can. Okay, and that's 1 peppermint down. While I'm repotting these, it's the same procedure. I'm just going to give you 6 smart tips. Okay, 6 smart tips for mint care. My first smart tip is location, 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 location. Mint is very invasive. Like, they will slide up into your garden and just take over the world. You know, like Pinky and Brain? Yeah, I just showed my age. They will run up on you and try to really, they're about garden domination, right? So it's best to keep it contained, to plant it in a pot, just to keep it under control. If you have an outside garden, you can plant it in an uncracked, so a pot that's not cracked, and bury that pot into the ground with maybe just up to this part, so that will keep the roots maintained, or keep the roots together, because what happens is it loves to travel and root. Why we want a wide pot? So as you see, it's coming out, right? These little nodes right here, so every little notch, they, once they touch any kind of soil, so if they touch the soil here, they will send out roots and shoots, and they will just keep spreading. Okay, smart tip number 2 is sunlight. Mint actually can survive in full to partial shade. However, in the hotter areas, it's best to keep it in a shaded area because it really doesn't like the heat. So it can survive inside or outdoors, so it can be an indoor or outdoor plant. So smart tip number 3 is to prune your mint. So pruning means you give it a little haircut, cut it off, and that will actually be a lot more beneficial for your mint plant, and it will thrive better. So it will give you more of the softer new growth at the top, and that's better to use for your daily life, because if you don't prune it, it will end up becoming woody on you, and it will lose a lot of the flavor. So yes, prune and prune. In winter, cut it back because it's a perennial. It will die back and then come back, you know, every year for you once you treat it well. So I would suggest that you cut it back almost to the base, like give it an inch, cut it all the way down to here, and then it will really flourish for you the coming spring when everything comes back up. Smart tip number 4 is fertilizer. So you can feed this once with organic fertilizer around the spring, like after your last frost, when you see like new shoots. So after its dormancy, when it's pushing out its first new growth, new shoots, then just give it organic fertilizer around the base, and don't let it touch the leaves, because it will burn the leaves. Smart tip number 5, water regularly. Mint loves moisture. Like what I say, mint can drink. Mint is forever thirsty. Mint loves moisture. However, moisture does not mean constantly wet, right? So how to know if your soil or if your plant needs water is you can do the simple knuckle or finger test, where you simply take off your finger, stick it into the soil, and you pull it up to the first or second knuckle. If it's moist, then it's fine, doesn't need any water. If it comes out dry, then give it a thorough drinking and allow everything to drain out. You may need to water mint every day sometimes, or every other day. The more water, smaller the container, etc. But mint, please do not let it sit in water. It doesn't like to have excess water. Avoid top watering. So that means when you water the plant, don't pour the water directly on the top. Try to water around the base, because when the leaves or the foliage gets wet, it can actually add to disease that the mint can get, you know, fungus, mildew, etc. Or 6th smart tip is to do not spray pesticides. So I know we may end up having some issues with pests and such. Just pick them off. If you see like caterpillars, bugs, whatever, just pick them off of the leaves If you see any leaves with like powdery mildew or anything of the sort, just clip that leaf off, clip that section off and discard it. But it's best to not spray it with anything because we're going to consume it, right? These chemicals can seep into it and it can make us sick. Our final step in transplanting or mint is to water in the mint. Okay, so we have to thoroughly water the mint. Let me just remember our smart tip that you try not to get water on the foliage. So shift it aside and just gently get the water around the base and just ensure that it is thoroughly watered. Whew. So you see the water is going through quickly. That means that it's not hanging onto the water, it's well draining. And just do your best to not get the foliage wet. We don't want no problems. And we'll keep going until we see water flowing out the bottom. Oh, my knees. So to make this easier on you, what you could do is before putting the soil, before putting the plant in, you could actually moisten the soil from at that point. Then it'll be easier to water it thoroughly because the soil will already be moist. But you know, I like hard work. And there we go. So you can see we have the water draining out the bottom. That means that it is thoroughly. Thanks again for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video of how I transplanted my mint. Please let me know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification button so that you can see when I post my update of my 4 mint babies. I need to give them a name. I think I'll think of a name by when I give them updates. Alright, so stay tuned for more gardening videos. Later, walk good.